Now we'll navigate this discussion, this panel to Johnny Amil. We know he is, renowned critic, writer, and commentator. And most of the time, you will see through his, account that the time he, confront something very much, I mean, distinctive, immediately he will take a photograph and, start writing about it on his account. I have seen many a time. So, being this responsive, at the same time, he had a, greater association with Ramachandran. So, we will be having, greater things to know from him. Particularly right now, my question to him is to, you know, elaborate on, as we all see Ramachandran's work mainly, though he has many phases of styles or individuality, but mainly when we see the early works with the figurative representation, and the late has have the uh, uh, kind of a more sophisticated and poetic and romantic representation of the work. So I would ask Johnny Emil, how does he look this difference? In what context he look at this? Kind of a great difference in between as a critic.
Thank you, Kumar. Before I come to that, answering that question, let me address an issue that Vinod Bharadwaji raised here. Like Ramachandran being a Malayali, the responsibility of making a movie on him fell on first on Bikram Singh and later on him. And that is a contradiction, perhaps, but that's not a contradiction. As you know, Ramachandran was a Malayali. Definitely, he was a Malayali. As Sudhakaran pointed out, he was a very good writer. He could speak very well in Malayalam. The way he spoke in English or Bengali, he was a kind of multilingual. He had this idea of language. He had this absorption power of language. But unlike the public perception or common perception, Ramachandran was always in conflict with the Malayali community or Malayali cultural world. He was a Malayali. He left Kerala when he was around 23, 24 years old. He went to Shantiniketan, spent some time in Calcutta. Then he came to Delhi. There were a lot of pressures on him to move back to Kerala, live for some time there, and work from there because it was his native and all. If you read Supriya's book, then you can understand how a personal loss, like his properties were lost when his father sold and they moved to Trivandrum. So Artingal is a kind of metaphorical thing for him. But Ramachandran never came back to Kerala as a Malayali. And when he was in Kerala as a young student, he was in connection with N. Mohanan. Mohanan was a great, beautiful, powerful story writer. Then he was friends with O.N.V. Kurup. He was one of the very good lyricists and the poets who became a very great lyricist in Malayalam movies. So he had a huge connections with the Malayalam film world via O.N.V. Kurup. Then G. Aravindan, one of the foremost, finest filmmakers in India, was a close friend of Ramachandran. But unfortunately, these three people passed away when Ramachandran was in his prime. Ramachandran, somebody would have or should have taken a movie on him. Those people who could have done it, they passed away. So Ramachandran really didn't do it. Then there was a close association with the Kerala when he became the Lalit Kala Academy chairman. And he took initiative to take Raja Ravi Varma's work and present it in National Gallery of Modern Art in Delhi. And maybe Deshraj and all these people know, close people know very well that what he faced. We, the thankless Malayalis, I have to say, we were very thankless to him. We thankless Malayalis told him that he was taking those works to Delhi in order to make copies and sell the original and return the copies. So Ramachandran was shocked, literally shocked. He decided to resign. And today Ravi Varma's works command crores and crores of rupees. But when Ramachandran was taking it, like nobody was even giving a damn. Because Bengali school was in prime. After that, the 80s Baroda narratives were in prime. All these people were looking at Raja Ravi Varma's works as something very derivative from the Western British academic language. So nobody wanted to identify with Raja Ravi Varma. But despite all these conflicts, Ramachandran gave a dignity to Raja Ravi Varma, and he became huge. And a lot of people got associated, even the youngest Manu Pilla. Manu Pilla is a young historian. Even him got associated with Ravi Varma's works. And now today, Ravi Varma is a huge industry. Ravi Varma is, even his images are repeated and so on. Then, when Ramachandran was living, and he was, somebody forced him to buy a house in Trivandrum. He bought it. It was in some third floor or something like that. He started living there during the Delhi winters. He couldn't stand that, so he reached there. So we again, the thankless Malayalis, used to look at who is this old couple, like one Malayali looking and some Chinese looking woman. And so they didn't give any. Yeah, these some people. So one day he got Padma Bhushan. So all the newspapers got the front page announcement, so Ramachandran sir told me, Johnny, you know something, like we were going up after our morning walk. We were in the lift. So 2 women and 2 men, like they are also like residents of that same building. They were curiously looking at this man and asking, "Aapka jo photograph aaj pura chapa, aap hi hai na?" So this is the understanding of a great artist about a great artist among us. So that also prevented. Then, as I told you, as he was in conflict with this Malayali cultural psyche, even Malayalis also thought that, he belongs to a different genre of artist, or he belongs to something beyond our grasp. M.T. Vasudevan Nair, who is a giant of a writer who passed away 2 days before, and whole Kerala is crying on his death. He was one of the very, he was the director of one of the very famous Malayalam institutions, and Ramachandran was his friend. So one day, M.T. Vasudevan Nair, equally big. Ramachandran, if you say that he is a huge elephant, mammoth, then M.T. is another mammoth. So when these 2 giants met, M.T. said that, see Ramachandran, you are a Malayali artist and one of your paintings should be there in our institution. So Ramachandran said, yes, you can actually, do the formalities and all. It will come through Vadera. There are lot of formalities. So M.T. said, okay. Then one day he gets a call. Ramachandran sir got a call from M.T. saying that, "Arey, Ramachandran, aapne abhi tak wo painting bheja nahi?" Means he thought like it is like sending a book. This crore worth of work, which should have been, insured, which should have been received in a proper way, and there should have been a place to keep it in climate controlled, light controlled area. Nothing was done. He was just, so Ramachandran sir told me that, Johnny, I was so disappointed by such a giant of a man, giant of a writer, to say. He was so insensitive because he knew the world literature. He was known to the world, but then unfortunately he couldn't even say that my work should have been given such respect. So he was, Ramachandran sir was not really sort of in tune with the Malayali, even if he had this Malayali humor, black humor. But at the same time, we are not thankless to others. For example, K.G. Subramaniam, the famous filmmaker Shaji did a movie on K.G. Subramaniam. We celebrate Ramkinkar Bej out there. We celebrate a lot of artists elsewhere. Arpana Kaur is a staple there. Like we all know, because of M.A. Baby and all, we all know. So this is one thing that I want you to understand, that Ramachandran sir was not really a Malayali. He was a Malayali. He enjoyed being a Malayali. Even if I was very young to him, when we meet, we become suddenly 2 Malayali men talking gossips, bitching, talking a bit, like something like that. As he said that he had a lot of that thing, the life force in him. So we used to talk. So this is the background that I want to share with you. And I'm coming to Jessica's question regarding how he moved from this being a very committed, socially committed expressionist, which he very effectively yesterday, Jessica, presented, and how he became this kind of a beautiful, tender, images-making man. What was this transition? And as you know, like it is several times written, in 1984, this death of assassination of Indira Gandhi, the pogrom that followed, many Sikhs were killed, and Ramachandran sir saw a death or killing of a Sikh man right in front of his eyes, standing there and seeing, doing nothing, like he couldn't do anything. He was in full of remorse, in repentance. He went into depression. He thought, and his first response, being a painter, he thought that I shouldn't be selling my works based on the human conflict, which he later on in yesterday's movie, he talked about Corona. Today's poem, which I don't know, my young friends' poem also reflected the same sentiments about the people. Sometimes, like, we become so sensitive to talk about the people who are suffering, at the same time so insensitive to be with them in certain sense, like we create a kind of distance. So Ramachandran sir was not a hypocrite. He didn't have this double standards. So he decided, why should I make a lot of money through Vadera or whatever? I mean, at that time he didn't, but at the same time he thought that if I sell my work, I get my money, but it comes from somebody's blood. I have blood in my hands. I have blood in my conscience. I can't clean it with the waters of whatever, Narmada, Ganga or Yamuna, whatever. So I should not do that. Then, over a period of time, he overcame that stain, that guilt in his mind, and he refined his language, which Supriya's book also very effectively narrates. So that transition made him to look at the traditional art of India, miniatures and folk art, also the murals. As you know from the movies, he did a great study of murals in India, and he refined his language, and he reached that point. At that point, like yesterday, Kalapini Komkali, you must have heard her, like she said, like, I am not going to explain those ragas and gamakas and all those diversities, but I am going to give you straight away. But Ramachandran reached that level that he need not use lyrics to make music. He could just hum. Through his paintings, he was actually humming a music. He was creating the layers of meanings, and people even accused him of being a decorative artist towards the end of this thing. But he kept on it. That is what, like, if you keep digging, you make a well. If you keep digging on different places on a plot, you make just pits. So he kept on digging. He believing in his own art. So that is the transition, or that is the kind of change came to him, and that made Ramachandran as we know today. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Johnny. It was quite an efficient and elaborate, commentary from you, being a critic, to be so clear about, his this transition, this, one particular individual, phase to transferring into some other. So it was quite important to, discuss the same.
So one thing for the students, अगर रामचंद्र सर suppose 1000 painting बनाया हो, तो वो 2000 works है. आपको बहुत अच्छे से जानता हो, क्योंकि रामचंद्रन सर इतना पैसा बनाने के बाद भी वो कलर कभी भी वेस्ट नहीं किया है. वो अपना ईसल में बड़ा पेंटिंग लगाता, कैनवास लगाता है, उसी के सामने दूसरा के 3x4 का कैनवास लगाता था. तो ये पेंटिंग करने के लोड करने के बाद, पेंटिंग करने के बाद जो जितना कलर इसमें बचा है वो उसमें लगाता था. So that means like when he finishes one work, there are two works. One goes to Vadera, one he keeps for his children. You know, so that I think like those works have gone to Kerala. Second thing, अगर ये फिल्म्स में आप देख नहीं पाएगा, अगर आप क्लोजली ये वॉच करेगा तो आपको ग्रिड मिल सकता है, दो जो कॉलम्स, जैसे कमर्शियल आर्टिस्ट जो जैसे बनाता है वैसे सर बनाता था. इतना प्रोफिशिएंस प्रोक्लिविटी उनके पास था, इतना स्किलफुल था, फिर भी वो प्रिसिशन के लिए ग्रिड बनाता था. तो एक बार मैं उनको पूछा, सर ये तो थोड़ा सा अनप्रोफेशनल दिख रहा है ना, थोड़ा थोड़ा लाइन बीच में से बाहर निकला रहा है. तो रामेंद्र सर एक बहुत ही इंटेलिजेंट आंसर मेरे को दिया. वो बोला, ये देखो ये पेंटिंग है कि लिविंग क्रीचर है, उसका बॉडी तुम देखे है, उसके अंदर जो स्केलेटन है, उसको जो स्ट्रक्चर है वो भी मैं दिखाना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि ह्यूमन बीइंग्स जैसा पेंटिंग भी परफेक्ट नहीं है, उसको जो फॉल्ट्स है उसमें है. और तीसरा, yeah, thank you. This applause is for Ramachandran sir, not for me. Another thing, sir painted these beautiful paintings, these meaningful, sensitive paintings. उन्होंने एक आंखों से किया है, उनका एक आंख failed था. I think right आंख, ये right आंख failed था. अब सोचो, एक आंख से ये पूरा पेंटिंग उन्होंने कितने सालों से, लेकिन कभी भी उनका जो डिफ़िकल्टी वो कभी भी बताया नहीं था. और 70s में देशराज जी से लेके 80s में सबिया जी और विनय जी, सब लोग, सुप्रिया तक, सब लोग मिलके कितने सालों से ये परंपरा कंटिन्यू कर रहा है. रिसेंटली सितंबर में मैं जामिया में गया तो उधर मैं वॉल में देखा, कलाम फेस्टिवल के साथ साथ रामेंद्र सर का ह्यूज म्यूरल, उनका चेहरा उधर एक बिल्डिंग साइज में बनाया है. 20-25 से बीच में जो बच्चे हैं उसको कैसे ये याद आता है रामेंद्र सर है. सो दैट इज द इफेक्ट ऑफ एन आर्टिस्ट. थैंक यू.